Okay, welcome back. In this video about the Apprentice S 15E ready to fly airplane from E-Flite, we're going to talk about the control test and the things you need to do to make sure the aircraft is operating properly before you take it to the field. But before I get to that, there's one more point I want to make about making sure the wing is on straight. One thing I usually do, I forgot to mention in that video, is you should measure using a yardstick. This is a steel ruler, 36 inches long, from the tip of the wing to the tip of the elevator. And for me, that's about 27 5/8 inches. And do that on both sides, and they should match. If they match, everything's good. Your wing's on straight. If they're not matched, you need to check and make sure, first off, this should not be crooked because it's got a nice hard spot to hold it straight there. So that's probably okay. And you may have not gotten the wing on nice and straight. So I don't necessarily recommend, once you get it on straight a couple of times and you measure it a couple of times and you got your marks right, then it's going to be fine. Okay, so do that as a backup check to make sure your wing's on straight. So what we're going to do is make sure all the control surfaces are moving in the right directions and all the rates are working. So in order to do that, we've got to turn the airplane back on. Before you do that, you have to check your radio transmitter. Switch is off. Throttle is back. The rate switch is in the low position. The flight mode is in position 0, which is the beginner mode. Now, if you're experienced, you want to be in experience mode. If you're just, learning, you might want to start out with a beginner or intermediate. And before you turn on the radio, you should always make sure that your arm-disarm switch is in the disarm position, because when we turn it on, we don't want the motor to start spinning. So everything looks good, and I'm going to turn this on. Okay, I'm going to make sure that the orange light is nice and bright, not red, not flashing, not making a noise. Because if you leave it on overnight, guess what? It'll come back in the morning, it'll be deader than a doornail, and you'll see the switch on, you go, oops, better get 4 more batteries. Higher priced radios have a warning if you leave it on more than like 10 minutes without doing anything with it. This one, it'll just sit there with the light on until you run the battery out. Okay, so now that that's on, and we got the throttle full back, you got the switches all in the right position, and I'm going to verify that the switch up here on the aircraft is in the off position. Okay. We can also, if you haven't done it before, you can listen very carefully and make sure all these trims are in the center position. So I'm going to listen very carefully. That's centered. That's centered. That's centered. This one should be all the way down. Okay. Your throttle trim should be all the way down. Okay, so all my trims are centered. And let's go ahead and plug in the airplane. And we'll listen for the tones, which will be a high tone followed by 3 lower tones. The 3 lower tones tells it it's a 3-cell battery. That's what the 3 tones for. Now I'm going to turn this aircraft switch here on, and it'll start moving around. Okay. All right. So remember, before you turn it on out at the field, this should be on the ground or on a level surface, because when you first turn this on, it wants to say, okay, I assume that I am not upside down anymore, okay, and I'm in a level position, so it knows what level looks like. If you have it cocked off like this and it arms, then you're going to be flying like that all the time, I guess. I'm not sure. I have to try that sometime. All right, so to make sure the control surfaces are working properly, so the control test is the following. Okay, I'm going to move the aileron stick to the right, okay, like that, and you check both. So aileron stick to the right aileron on the far end down there goes up, the left aileron goes down, and that makes it turn to the right. While it's over there, I'm going to flip the rate switch. And you can see that the rate switch is that's low rates, that's high rates, meaning that the aileron is moving higher or lower, depending upon the position of the switch. So right aileron is up. Left aileron is up. So it's going in the correct direction. Elevator, pull it back. Okay, you can see the elevator is going up, and that's low rate, high rate. And rudder to the right, and the rudder stick to the right, and the rudder goes to the right, and this wheel up here is turning so that the aircraft will turn to the right. So the back of the rudder is moving to the right. Okay, and left is opposite. Okay, so that's good. That's good. Okay, and just for grins, we're going to spin the motor just slightly. Don't go wild here; it'll come off the stand if you do. I'm going to arm it. I'm going to put my hand on it, and I'm going to just turn the motor, make sure the motor's working. Okay, that's all I want to do. Everything's working. Okay. All right, we've tested the control surfaces. Everything's moving in the correct direction. I'm going to turn the airplane off, and I'm going to unplug the battery. Okay, I turn the radio off, and I always do it in that order. The other thing you can do at this point too is make sure your the clevises have the little keeper on them. It's a silicone tube. So there's one there. There's one there. I can see the one over there. And all four of the keepers for the clevis are in the proper position. Wheels are spinning nicely, wings on nice and straight. Airplane's good to go. You don't have to do all of that every time you fly, but at a minimum, you should always go, make sure when you turn right, the right aileron goes up. When you turn left, the left aileron goes up. When you pull back on the stick, first off, if you forgot to plug one of them in or both of them in, it won't work. That's why you do it every flight. So you go left and right, back, and the rudder to check that everything's moving in the correct direction. Okay, so let's see. That's it for the control test. Thank you for watching. We're almost ready to take it to the field. One more check, and I think we'll be ready to go to the field. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next video.